So, over the past couple of weeks, Phil and I decided that we wanted to learn paramotoring, and there's a little bit of a story that goes into that, but long story short, I wanted to paraglide, he wanted to fly, and that seemed like the best combination of the two once. And so we went to Luling, Texas, and did a paramotoring course, and had an absolute blast. And it was funny because I have a very action-adventure sports background, so I caught on pretty quick. Phil has a very bomb-making background, so he did not catch on as quick. And so we're out there, we're learning, and I got a first couple of flights in, and then eventually it's Phil's turn to fly, and we've been like really nervous about him getting up in the air because it's kind of a production when you first start learning. It's kind of difficult to do, and he wasn't as comfortable on the kite as I was, and you know, I'm nervous. Like, I didn't sleep for him. I wasn't flying at all the next day, but I was so nervous for Phil that I didn't sleep. And so I just really wanted him to like it. I didn't want him to like do this course with me and then not have a good time and not be able to go up in the air. And you know, I was just like, oh, I just hope he gets up in the air and that he likes it and that doesn't hurt himself, doesn't die, like, you know, all that good stuff. So I'm like really nervous about him having a good time. And the part that Phil was most worried about was takeoff. And he crushed it. He crushed the takeoff. Like, he had one of the best takeoffs. And then it went downhill after that. So we see him take off. I'm ecstatic. I am so pumped that he got up in the air and is flying around the clouds. It's a beautiful morning. The clouds are probably around 1,000 feet, maybe a little bit higher, and the sunrise is coming up and the rays of light were coming in, and it was a gorgeous morning, and the sun was playing with the clouds, and it's like, that was the best view in the house, you know, was being up in the paramotor. So I'm like, Phil timed it perfectly. He gets to get a second sunrise, like, you know, all this like cool stuff. Yes! Meanwhile, one of the easiest parts of paramotoring is getting into the damn chair. Phil could not figure it out. It's like a folding chair that you kind of have to like fold under your butt in a way, and or pull out underneath your butt. And Phil could not figure it out, so he's like trying to steer, but there's like a couple support beams, like called sway bars, that kind of hold the wing up. It attaches to there. Your hang points are there that the kite comes down into the harness, and it's on the sway bars. Anyway, so Phil's like supporting himself on the sway bars, thinking he's about to die. He's not about to die. There's like a rock climbing harness in the actual paramotoring harness, so he could have just hung in his harness, but for some reason that wasn't working. And so he's like literally doing like an ab lift for 5 to 10 minutes as he's like climbing up to altitude, like, ah! He was not having a good time. So he's over here, birds are flying by, like, what is this guy and why is he doing a crucifix to himself? And he's like climbing up to altitude. He's like having a hard time breathing, and he's like going through the worst or best ab workout of his life, motivated by fear of death. He's up there. He's like freaking out. He's like, ah, my God. He's having a hard time breathing. He's like,
he might have been cussing Charlie a little bit.
Yeah, he's like, God damn it. Why did I let Charlie talk me into this? Like, sure, he was his idea. Meanwhile, me and the instructor are on the ground, and Phil is like panicking because the winds aloft were a little bit stronger. So he was getting pushed back, and he was having a hard time coming back to the drop zone because the winds pushed him downwind. And so he's like, he's on the butt fan, you know, the big paramotor thing, and he's on the engine trying to like push himself back, but it's only pushing him up higher because the wing's gonna fly as fast as the wing's gonna fly. He's up there like thinking he's about to die. Me and the instructor are like, oh, he's probably having such a good time, like, oh, he's got the best views, like, oh, he's playing the clouds, like, oh, you know, he's gonna be doing that. Meanwhile, he's trying to get altitude so he can like let go of his brakes and like actually like get into his seat. And all the while he's getting pushed downwind. He's panicking about getting pushed downwind, so he adds more throttle, which pushes him higher to stronger winds. So like, it was like a perfect combination of just all the wrong things. And so, and then as soon as he finally did get into his chair. He comes in for a landing, he overshoots the landing, and he tries to take like 2 steps, and just falls to his knees and then falls to his face. So he's like, bam! And then he doesn't move. He doesn't move. Like there's nothing. He's just so relieved to be on the ground. He's literally laying on the ground, just like, oh, sweet Mother Earth, I'll never leave you again. So, he's over there.
Are you alive?
Like he's like the happiest he's ever been to be on Earth ever. He's elated to be alive. Meanwhile, me and the instructor think he's dead. Like, I don't know how he killed himself on a like 2-mile-an-hour landing, but Phil somehow figured it out. And so he's not moving. I laugh, and then he continues to not move, and I'm like, oh, this is bad. And so there's a headset, and if you key in the headset, you can, key to the radio that the instructor has. And his hand was right next to his ear, and so he keyed in, was like, I'm fine. And then keyed out and just laid there. I couldn't see his finger move because I was like over 100 yards away. And the instructor didn't hear it either. All we know is Phil just landed and he's not moving. And he's freaking out everyone on the drop zone. There's people who are like, oh my God, should we call an ambulance? Phil still doesn't move. He does not give a shit. He's like, I'm on the ground. I'm happy to be here. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it for a little bit. So we finally make our way to Phil. I'm like hobbling through the field because my knees are in pain. And then we eventually make it to him. And he's over there like totally fine. The panic was for nothing. Like, but it's like the goofiest landing that the instructor's ever seen. And so, that's the Phil story. He had another couple of funny landings. Most notably when he came in a little bit too close to everyone, and then almost landed on a cooler, pulled up out of it really quick, and then this guy named John, he had his vape sitting on the cooler, and with the cage of the paramotor, he hit the vape like flying off the cooler, and then he face planted on a landing again. He's really good at face planting on landings. But he invented the sport of paramotor vape punting. It was pretty damn funny. So yeah, the goofiest landing award definitely goes to Phil forever. There's no way he can beat him. Anyways, that's my story.